Hello and welcome to Lecture 4 of Unit 3. This is the last lecture of this unit. We are going to be looking at the backcountry. By the end of this lecture, we will be able to talk about some of the characteristics of the backcountry and what happens when people start moving farther and farther west and some of the conflicts that develop. The backcountry extends through western parts of many colonies. The backcountry is a region of dense forests in or near the Appalachian Mountains. Now, if it's dense forest, that's kind of meaning that it is not going to be very good farmland, and we've talked about how, the good farmland is bought by the people that have all the money, like the planter class, and then the worst farmland is kind of bought up by the poorer people. So in the backcountry, we're going to see poor farmers having to be forced out there, kind of. This is a map of what the backcountry kind of is. We have, the established southern and middle colonies, and then the backcountry kind of runs, down through here. So everything on this side is the backcountry, where it says backcountry right here. So yeah. In the south, the backcountry begins at the fall line, and the fall line is where waterfalls prevent large boats from going upriver. This is a map of where the fall line is. You can see that there are towns on the fall line that are rather large towns, and that's because these towns form because these are like the last stop before you get out into the backcountry and the unsettled territory, so you have to pack up all your supplies, or if you are living out here, you have to go to these cities to get your supplies. This is kind of what the fall line structure is. You have the ocean down here, and then the flat coastal plain with, this is where cities would be and all of this kind of stuff. And then as you move inland, you have an incline, sharp incline, and then you have the mountains. Well, this sharp incline is where all the waterfalls are. So if you are traveling upriver and then you get here, you can't really get up this waterfall unless you pick up your boat, you go around, and you climb up this, and then you're up here. Now, if you think about, if you have a house out here and you need to get supplies from down here, you have to go all the way over here, down this, and it's just takes forever. You aren't going to get as much access to the city or the trading and all this kind of stuff. So that's why this area back here, the backcountry, is going to be less settled. The first settlers and farmers clashed with Native Americans over land. Like we see with Nathaniel Bacon and Bacon's Rebellion. He wants protection from the Native Americans. The backcountry gained a reputation as a very wild place. For that reason, you are having to fight Native Americans all the time. The Scots-Irish are going to be a large immigrant group that are living in the backcountry. They are from the border of Scotland and England, and where they are from is very war-torn, and there's a lot of fighting constantly. You have to have a lot of survival skills. So when they come over to the backcountry, the Scots-Irish had the survival skills that were very useful in the backcountry, so they are able to succeed in the backcountry. This is a map of the same map of the backcountry, so if we draw the line of where the backcountry is, and if you notice where most of the Scots-Irish reside, you have these regions in red, because that's what the key up here says. So if you had to, look at this map and think about the economic status of these Scots-Irish, you would probably say that because of this, what this map is showing, these Scots-Irish live in the backcountry, which is going to be worse farmland, which means it's cheaper land, the only land they can afford. If you notice, they are not really living up in, this area of the tidewater or anything like that. And the majority of them are in this part up here. They concentrate, they kind of start out in this colony right here, which is in the middle colonies, and this is Pennsylvania. The Scots-Irish first came to Pennsylvania because of its religious tolerance, and they soon spread out throughout the frontiers of other colonies. At the start of the century, you see the population of the entire colonies standing at about 251,000 people, which is a good amount of people. But by 1750, you see that number jump to almost 1.2 million settlers in North America. Now, these settlers are going to the New England region, they're going to the middle colonies, they're going to the southern colonies, and the backcountry. And each of these groups develop unique characteristics, and that's where regionalism develops. Now, if you think of the word regionalism, you have regional and ism. And if you think about what racism is, it's kind of you think that your race is better than another person's, or you think their race is worse than yours. And that is basically what regionalism is. You think that your region is better than other people. So the people in New England think that they are better than the people in the South, and people in the South think that they're better than the people in New England, and all that kind of stuff. Now, you kind of see why that happens, because each of these regions are completely different from one another. In New England, they focus on trading, commerce, shipbuilding, fishing. They can't farm because they have really poor soil, so they have to trade and fish and all that kind of stuff. The middle colonies, they're growing a lot of cash crops, but they're not the same cash crops as the southern colonies, because the middle colonies are growing things like grains and vegetables and fruits that require a lot less labor, and that means they're going to have a lot less slaves. They also, because they're growing these things that people can eat, they become known as the breadbasket colonies. The southern colonies grow cash crops, but they're cash crops like tobacco and rice and things that require a lot of labor, and that is why we see a huge slave population in the South. And then the backcountry is going to be populated by the poor farmers, the Scots-Irish. Not very good farmland, very dangerous, wild place, dense forests, begins at the fall line, things like that. As the English settlers push farther and farther west, out into the backcountry and farther, they come into contact with Native Americans as well as French and Spanish colonists. And do you think that these interactions are all going to be friendly and let's all share the land and it'll be great, we'll all live here together? Well, that's just not the case. As contact increased, so did conflict over the land and resources. So in later chapters, we will see what happens when the English and the French clash, and what happens when the English and Spanish clash, or the English and the Native Americans clash, over land and the resources of this American continent. Now, all right, so that is Unit 3. That's the last lecture. So, all right, thanks.